There are a million reasons why you might lose a match in Apex, and it's up to you to figure out what those reasons are and how to fix them. What's up guys, it's Valued, and by the end of this video, you'll have 15 of the biggest reasons why you lose your games and a better understanding of how to avoid these things and get more dubs. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting us off, one of the biggest things that leads to many players losing their games is a lack of a plan. While it's impossible to script out your games perfectly, you want to make sure you're at least making a rough plan throughout the game, which changes depending on the situation. For example, if you're outside the ring and need to get into position, you should make a plan on where you're headed and how you plan to get there. If you see a team that's likely to hold you on a rotation, make a quick adjustment to the plan and begin working towards the new plan. Are you looking to fight them, or do you have an alternative way to get into the ring that could avoid the fight? These types of questions should always be running through your mind so you're constantly moving with purpose on the map. Going one step further on that, whenever you make a plan or have a play in mind, stick to it. While you should make adjustments when circumstances change, too many players will get paralyzed by choice and end up getting caught out and dying. Rather than constantly changing your plan and trying to adapt on the fly so much, especially in your solo queue games, instead look to make clear, good calls for your team and then stick with them. If your team gets into an unwanted fight, well, it's better that it happens when you're together as a unit rather than trying to dynamically disengage and rotate. This is tough to do even on a highly organized squad, let alone in solo queue. I have a saying that I say with my teammates, and that is, sometimes a bad call together is better than a good call that no one follows up on. Adding on to sticking to your plan, this helps you fight on your own terms and not feel like you're constantly reacting to the enemies. You don't want to be stuck in a situation where you're constantly waiting to be pushed or hoping a team doesn't come and try to take your spot. Stay confident and stay aggressive with your decisions. This doesn't mean you need to be pushing all the time, but if you're looking to, say, hold a certain spot on the map, posture yourself with good lines of sight and keep enemies from just walking up on you. This keeps you knowledgeable of your surroundings and allows you to make the calls rather than reacting to the enemies. Another way people set themselves up for failure is playing low ground. While there are some niche situations where low ground can be powerful, especially in final rings, in most instances, the team with the high ground has a pretty clear advantage. With the way that peeking works in Apex, high ground players are going to have a much better view of low ground enemies, and with nades and many abilities dropping to the ground, being that team under an enemy squad is oftentimes not very fun. So make sure you're thinking ahead about your squad movements and look to take high ground early and often throughout the entire game. A big way you can prevent your squad from being in bad situations is by communicating ahead of time. While you might not always get a response in voice chat or have your team offer their own communication, pinging and commenting to your squadmates throughout the entire game is massive if you really want to come out on top. Simply calling out that you don't want to hold low ground or a rotation to prepare for the next ring can make a huge difference in how your game turns out. While a lot of teammates might not communicate, plenty of them will listen to some callouts. Do yourself a favor and do your best to quickly convey info in a polite manner throughout the whole game, and you'll actually get a good amount of teammates that'll help you get that dub. On the flip side, many of you guys lose games from straight up going rogue. Not only do you not communicate with your squad, but you make plays on your own without thought to whether your squad is able to help you. We've all had these teammates that take this to the ultimate level, hot dropping solo and dying instantly off spawn. While you may not be doing this, you might find yourself taking fights without your team around, being the first one to go down, or always just being away from your team often in your games. If this is the case, put a huge emphasis on staying close to your squad and look to make maneuvers with them whenever possible. This is a pretty simple idea that many players overlook in their games, and it gets them killed a lot. Another thing far too many players overlook is training their aim. Getting kills is a very important aspect of Apex, and it's pretty tough to do constantly if you aren't hitting your shots. AimLab is my personal favorite game to use for this, giving me a free way to customize my aim training and giving me insane amount of feedback and stats. Without tools like AimLab, it's pretty tough for me to pin down why I'm missing shots if I'm having a bad day on Apex. But AimLab's in-depth analysis of my aim gives me all the data I could ever need on the specifics of my aim, as well as give me recommendations for making improvements. If you're looking to have incredible aim that helps carry you to more wins, make sure to check out AimLabs using the link in the description. A ton of players set themselves up for a loss right at the start of the game with their drop, and not only because they hot drop. Obviously, hot dropping and dying is a very common way that people lose games, but you want to be careful that you're not dropping too safe either. If you're dropping way out to the edges of the map, you often have to rotate really far to make it into the ring. All of this map traversal raises your chances of running into an enemy team, and with you trying to cover a lot of ground quickly, a lot of teams will just die to a squad they roll up on without knowing. These rush situations have disaster written all over them, so consider this the next time you want to keep dropping to the edges of the map. Throughout each game, you come across a ton of weapons and attachments, and your choice in how you use these to build a loadout really impacts your game. If you're running weapons that don't cover each other's weaknesses, for example, you can find yourself without the best weapon in a given situation. Let's say you're running a Rampage and a Sentinel. While both of these guns pack a big punch, they're both slower weapons that excel at medium to long range. If you go running into a building to fight a guy with an R99 or a Mastiff, you're not putting yourself in a winning situation. So be sure to think about this kind of balance when you're building your loadouts, always thinking about what weaknesses your primary weapon has, and grabbing a weapon for your secondary that covers that weakness. Adding on to making sure you choose the right weapons, make sure you're comfortable with each weapon that you choose to use. The example I gave of the Rampage and the Sentinel should be applied to every weapon, with your understanding of where each excels and where they fall short. Knowing this and also being comfortable with their recoil, fire rates, and overall feeling is super important. This largely comes with playtime, but if you're feeling weak with a specific weapon, make sure to spend some time in the firing range as well as spamming it in your normal matches to get some reps. While we touched on some tips surrounding making a plan, the ring and its movement is a dynamic thing you're always going to have to adjust for throughout every match. Having an early eye on the ring's location and then constantly looking to play for beacons or make educated guesses of its movement will have you better prepared in every stage of the game. The zone moving in forces the game to speed up, so you don't want to be grasping for zone control with the zone at your back. Instead, stay conscious of the ring, move early and often based on its movement, and never put yourself in situations where you're being pressured by the zone if you can help it. Building off of what we talked about so far with being proactive and asserting your position on the map, you also want to make sure you're not being too aggressive. It's easy to get caught up with your decisions in-game and feel really confident. Now, this confidence is great, but allowing it to lead you to making over-aggressive moves will lose you a lot of games. Make sure you're still being cautious and rational with your gameplay. Don't watch this video and then suddenly become the alpha player that's looking to bully every team off of every position. Look for the path of least resistance, and if you're in a tough spot that requires you to fight your way out, then do what you've got to do and win some fights. If things aren't going your way, do your best to help your teammates come out on top. If you do go down and know they're camping your death box, don't spam ping your teammates to get your banner, or make that call in chat. They can still have a good game as a two-man if they play smart, and pressuring them into a bad situation isn't going to help them do that. If you genuinely believe they can make a play to get your card, then communicate it. But if you go down with no hope of returning, make sure your squad knows this and cheer them on for the sake of your RP. This same mindset goes for your teammates as well. If they go down or find themselves in danger, don't just sprint in there guns a-blazing. Instead, evaluate the situation, look to get lines of sight to help, but always play your life. If you go down with them, that does nobody else any good. Make sure you do your best to play their banner or clean up the fight, but your number one priority should always be to stay alive. So don't let one teammate getting caught jeopardize that. And finally, guys, we probably have the most impactful tip, and that is don't play tilted. Games are gonna go poorly, and we're gonna have some bad days. Coming into games with a negative or hopeless attitude is gonna do you no favors if you're looking to win. In Apex, you manifest your own success, and if you're not fully prepared to become the champ squad in every game, then you're gonna spend a lot of matches loading back into the lobby without a dub. Understand that becoming great at the game is a long journey, and even the best players have massive loss streaks. Use these moments when you feel frustrated to learn something about your play and improve yourself in the game. Keep your head up no matter how bad of a streak you're on, because all it takes is one win to break that cycle. While there are plenty of other reasons why we lose games of Apex, these are some of the most glaring ones that a lot of players struggle with. By talking about our shortcomings, we can better prevent them from affecting our gameplay, and at the end of the day, get more wins. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been your boy Valued. Make sure to drop a like if you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.